What is going on, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to your go-to Pacers podcast. I'm your host, Alex Golden. I'm joined today by Michael Facci. Facci, how's it going, brother?
Life's good. Life's good. Like I've said before, broken record. It could be better. And I think that right now, the Pacers once again played a good game, but they're on the opposite end of the win column in this one. You can't fault them because they were without Tyrese Haliburton tonight, and they were playing the defending champs, so I can't be too mad, but we did let one slip away.
Yeah, the Pacers lose 114-109 at home against the Denver Nuggets. They are shorthanded, though, because Tyrese Haliburton not available for this game, and he will not be available for the next two games against Philadelphia and Phoenix. There is expectations that he will be back against Memphis on the 28th. That is a Sunday game at 3 o'clock in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, but it's still up in the air. So Rick Carlisle comes on the radio this morning about 8 o'clock and breaks the news that Tyrese Haliburton is going to miss the next three games. So this Denver game included with the two games I just mentioned. And I think a lot of people were a bit frustrated just because Tyrese Haliburton came back against the Portland Trailblazers on Friday night and Pascal Siakam's debut had 20, 22, 21 points, 17 assists, 0 turnovers, was a plus 16, like played lights out, played 35 minutes, and then all of a sudden he has to miss the next four games at least. So it seems like there's something here that the Pacers maybe aren't wanting to say, but I don't know. It was just a weird way for him to come back and then all of a sudden be back out for another week.
Yeah, it kind of does feel like Indiana's beating around the bush a little bit. They're not quite saying, hey, there's been a re-aggravation or anything, but the fact that they're resting him for 3 games, all signs then point to is then why did he play nearly 35 minutes against Portland? Because
Mm-hmm.
it just felt that no one was even expecting him to come back against Portland. You and I were talking off air. I mean, if we would have been betting men or guessers, whatever you want to say, I thought he would have been out for about a week. I thought he probably wouldn't have returned until that game against Memphis. So it was just like if you were going to bring him back, why also play him for 35 minutes? It's easy to say that looking back. Obviously, there had to have been some sort of excitement around, hey, you know what? Siakam, it's first game. Like we can get out there and get a win. And it didn't work out that way. And it is unfortunate. And he looked so good, you would have never knew that there was any sort of, aggravation, flare up, whatever it is that you want to say. But looking back, it looks like it was the wrong move. And I think that now the Pacers are probably saying, you know what? We need to be extra careful here because there is still a lot of the season to play. And his health is everything to the Pacers. Last year when he went out, the team collapsed. This year, it looked like we were going to be weathering the storm. We were 3-2 in that stretch, without him. Comes back against Portland now. All of a sudden, we're kind of going down a little bit. Losses to Portland, losses to Phoenix, a loss to Denver now. This team's sliding a bit, but there's a bigger picture than short term. And for now, I think it's smart to rest Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah, I mean, just to share the quote from Rick Carlisle, he said it's not a re-injury, just injury recover management type stuff. Thought that was interesting. He also went on
Yeah.
to say that our training staff wasn't comfortable how Tyrese responded to his return in Portland. Okay, so it raised some concerns, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to sit here and play detective and say, oh, well, this is what happened, and they did this and they did that. No, I just feel like it's a tough situation with hamstrings because they can be lingering and they can probably come back as fine. And then all of a sudden you just plant one way or turn your body another way and it can re-aggravate it. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing with Tyrese Haliburton because at the end of the day, this team only goes as far as Tyrese Haliburton can take them. So if he's going to be out with an injury for a significant time, you let him rest up and get as healthy as possible. I still think the Pacers are a lock to at least make the play-in if Haliburton were to miss like another 15 games in a row. I still believe in this team enough to think that they're better than the bottom five in the Eastern Conference. So that to me is where you just have to kind of be careful here and be cautious with Tyrese because if he was able to come back and play that well after just a 2-week, recovery period, to me it says, okay, he probably was a little bit ahead of schedule for him to play that well, but we saw the grimacing on his face in that game against Portland. We were both a little bit worried about that. Is he going to play against Phoenix? I thought he might miss Phoenix, come back and play the next 4 games at home. Just kind of like, rest in Phoenix. It's been a long week, been traveling a lot, but no, unfortunately, it seems a little bit more serious. And right now, after this game, the Pacers fall to 24-20. They've lost 3 in a row since acquiring Pascal Siakam, and their schedule, it's tough after this Nuggets game. They've got Phoenix and Philadelphia. They got Philadelphia Thursday, Phoenix on Friday. They have an easier game against Memphis on Sunday, but then they go on the road against Boston on TNT. So it's not going to be easy the rest of the month of January, but I've liked the way these guys have played, Facci. I really have.
That's the thing. It's like you don't want to just consistently be patting yourself on the back and say, we played hard, but we did. We did play hard, and the Pacers have been in each of these games. The loss against Portland, yes, it's a bad loss. Okay, I get it. We've already talked about that. They played Phoenix really well. There was opportunities to win that game. Against Denver, there was opportunities. The Pacers led 103-102. They played, honestly, they played 3 good quarters and 1 really bad one in the third quarter. And in my opinion, that was the difference. But let's be honest. I mean, Denver had their superstar. Nikola Jokic made superstar-like plays. The Pacers didn't have their superstar. And it is very easy to say this is a game that you win with Tyrese Haliburton, but I truly believe it. I really do believe it because it just felt different from the start. At the start of this game, it felt like, okay, things are going to be different. And then I mentioned that third quarter, it was a major collapse. Indiana got outscored 39-19. It was the only quarter that Denver outscored the Pacers, and it proved to be enough because towards the end, when it mattered most, Indiana, they just didn't have that shot maker that is Tyrese Haliburton when you need him to bail you out. That was nowhere to be found tonight.
No, I mean, it's a great point. It's not one of those things you want to continuously say, but if Tyrese Haliburton plays in about half these games the Pacers have lost the last couple of weeks, they're probably 4 or 5 games different in the win column versus the loss column. I just, having Tyrese healthy is huge, and it just provides so much more for this offense. And there was a long stretch of time in that third quarter where the Pacers just needed a bucket. And we know the Nuggets are a great team. They came out and they punched Indiana in the mouth to start the second half, and they never looked back. And the Pacers really just had a hard time getting into a flow offensively. Rick Carlisle gets ejected, gets 2 technical fouls because there was a no call on Pascal Siakam, which could be debated that it wasn't even a foul. So, but I think it was just there was a couple of different times where it felt like Pascal was going to the basket and getting pretty, getting hacked pretty hard, and they weren't calling anything. And I think Carlisle was trying to show, hey, this is our new guy, this is our new second star. I'm going to stick up for him. I'm going to get the double tech and get ejected. And I think it did ignite a little bit of energy into the building after it had got so deflated. But still, Denver was able to kind of keep their foot on the gas. And when you're able to outscore a team by 20 in a quarter and almost give up 40 points in a quarter, it's just a hard time. It's hard to recover from. So you go into the fourth, and DeAndre Jordan's playing, and I'm thinking to myself, if they can cut this to about 6 points with DeAndre Jordan in the game, maybe they can make this a game. And they cut it to about 8 or 9 before he came out, but the Pacers were still able to get it down thanks to TJ McConnell's spectacular play in the fourth quarter. And they rallied back. They got the lead at one point, but they just couldn't hold on. It felt very reminiscent to the Suns game in that second half where they finally got the lead back, but they just couldn't hang on to it. There was a very questionable call at the end of the fourth quarter with Nikola Jokic setting a screen on Ben Sheppard. Ben Sheppard fighting through it. They originally called it a moving screen. They challenge it, go back and say, actually, Sheppard fouled Jokic first before the shot even went up. So they take away the 3 points, and they give Denver the ball, and then Jokic hits the 3 after that. So, I mean, it was just, there was a couple dagger plays there, Facci, that just kept this game from really feeling like the Pacers had full control of it.
Yeah, I do feel like that was a momentum shift because, one, it also killed the momentum. I feel like it took a while to do the review and everything of the sort. And then, obviously, at that point, it was a pivotal call. But you don't want to blame this on the refs by any means because the Pacers had opportunities. They had chances. You talked about TJ McConnell. McConnell was an absolute spark for this Pacers team. He went on a run during that stretch of the fourth quarter. 17 points, 7 assists. He was a +10. That was the best rating of any Pacer. But you and I were also talking offline. When he subbed out, he did not sub back in. And I felt like, I don't know, with that, the Pacers went a little bit colder. And I think that was tough. But, another thing while we're, I guess, talking about the bench, and I know this is not the main story, but one of the feel-good moments in this game was Ben Sheppard's sequence that he had. That man was everywhere. Hustled for an offensive rebound off of a missed free throw. He's diving towards the sideline, saves it. It's like strips it. And they're diving on the floor. He doesn't come up with it. Gets up, strips it again, and lays it in. It was electric. Had me on my feet. This was funny. My wife turns to me and goes, he's having the game of his life. And it was his first basket in the game. But it was just that much of a moment that it was just, you would have thought that he was taking over. He ends up hitting a three-pointer, moments later. But that swing, that play, the hustle by Ben Sheppard was just like, it made you feel like this kid's going to be good. But it's going to take some time. But that type of hustle is everything the Pacers need, because that felt like a momentum shift. The crowd really got on their feet. That was a big difference in this game, even if the Pacers didn't finish it out and get the win.
He was in the right spot defensively for multiple times in this game, and I absolutely love the way that he played. He's a rookie, and he earned those minutes. And his defense was so impactful, it kept Buddy Hield from getting back into the game.
Yeah.
Lloyd Pierce decided, you know what, I'm going to ride with the Rook, because he just made some huge moments. And honestly, I feel like that layup that he got on the steal, he got fouled. That should have been an and one. So, he hits the three to give the Pacers a 103-102 lead. And it's just like, okay, Ben Sheppard has arrived. Ben Sheppard is here right now, and it's not too big of a moment for him. So I was really enjoying it. I was getting excited in my house watching it. I mean, I'm cheering for Ben Sheppard, because most of the time, if that would have been anybody else that's regularly in the rotation, I wouldn't care as much. But it's just cool to see a guy out there go out and like just play as hard as he can to earn those minutes. He was like entering his channeling his inner TJ McConnell. That's the right way to say it there.
Fair statement.
I finally got to it, but channeling that inner TJ McConnell, and I was like, man, he really is just playing great basketball. Like his hair is on fire. So I really appreciated just that, and I felt like it was the jolt of energy that they needed. Pascal Siakam's chest bumping him after he makes the layup, and the Nuggets call fouling. You could just tell that was the moment of the game. There's no doubt about it. McConnell had some big moments. Siakam had some nice moments in the first half, but that sequence right there was the game shifter in the entire game, and Ben Sheppard deserved to be kind of like the player of the game for that moment. So I really enjoyed just watching him take that opportunity, grab the bull by the horns, and run with it, because a lot of times you can see rookies getting that moment. It's a little bit too big for him, but he's getting more comfortable because he's gotten some more run, and he didn't even get any run in the first half, I don't believe. So it was all second half, and kind of made me wonder, would he have even gotten into the game if Rick Carlisle was still calling the shots?
I don't know. That's a fair point. Maybe it could have been a couple of minutes, but I don't think he would have been able to have the chance to have that impact that he did. So, that was great. And look, Lloyd Pierce, that's a guy who's been a head coach in this league. So I think that was we trust Lloyd. He had good tenure with the Atlanta Hawks. He's coached with Team USA before, so good stuff. But there were a few other talking points, and I think one of it is, Pascal Siakam finished this game with 16 points, but he had 10 in the first quarter on 4 of 5 shooting. I felt that, the Nuggets, they played him well defensively. There was double team. Siakam knew when to pass, but I was disappointed that, Siakam finishes the game with 16 shot attempts. I felt like it wasn't enough. I felt like at times maybe could have been a little bit more aggressive. Obviously, it's up to the Pacers to hit their shots, but when you see him have 10 in the first quarter, you don't think he's going to finish the game with 16. That was a bit tough.
No, it was. I mean, he got his 12th point in the second quarter with like 4 minutes left, I think, in the game, something like that. And he was just cooking Aaron Gordon. I wasn't upset about it, even though I'm a big AG guy, but
you are.
I was enjoying it. I was like, keep cooking him, Pascal. We need this win. So I don't care. Drop 50 on him. Please do something special.
Please.
But it was just, I think that him getting going so early, it caused Denver to react to him.
I think so.
Really draw a lot of attention to him. But if you look, he had opportunities in the second half, and he was actually making the right reads.
He was.
When a double team was coming, he was passing to the open guys. Guys were missing shots. There was one play specifically that I know Caitlin Cooper tweeted about, and then our guest that we're having on for tomorrow's show, he put out a video of this sequence. Ben Mathurin gets himself stuck in a situation where he steps through and throws a shot off the backboard, trying to get his rebound, can't get it, and turns the ball over.
Try to Kobe
But
Bryant that. I
yes,
saw that. It didn't work
yeah,
out.
yeah, exactly. So Kobe, no, Mathurin, exactly.
Yep.
That's going to come
That's
back to bite
accurate.
him right there.
Yeah.
But in that sequence, KCP was guarding Pascal, and Pascal took him down into the paint and went to post up. Ben looked right at him and didn't give him the basketball. So, this to me is where you're just going to figure guys out what they like, what you're trying to run offensively. It's going to change a little bit because Pascal plays a different style. And we know that the places that are his sweet spots on the floor aren't necessarily the sweet spots Indiana's run in their offense normally. So he is a guy that's going to be thriving in that mid-range with his back to the basket, drawing double teams, kicking to open guys, and that can be beneficial, but guys got to hit their shots. So,
Yeah.
I really felt like Siakam, he had a nice basket at the end of the game to cut the lead to 2, I believe it was. And Miles Turner actually had an amazing pass, one of the best passes I've seen from Miles Turner in his career, when he looked off the defender. And I think he was, looking at Jokic like, okay, watch me pass the ball. And so he's looking straight out the 3-point line, and Siakam's on the baseline, and he just dumps it off to him real quick from the 3-point line. So I just thought, Siakam was just trying to find the right opportunities without forcing too much. He did force a few shots here and there because he did take 16 total shots in the game for 16 points. Not great efficiency, but I don't know. I just feel like he wasn't as bad as maybe the box score looked. I think his box score looks a lot better if guys actually make shots, and maybe if he got a couple of the foul calls that Rick Carlisle was complaining about, because I do think he got hacked a few times when he drove to the basket.
He had 1 trip to the line for 2 free throws. He was deserving of more free throws, and he had 4 assists in this game. Probably could have been 7, and that's being that not everybody's going to make every shot, but there was opportunities where guys were just kind of clanking off the rim, and that was a bit tough. But obviously, for the home debut, I think we all wanted to see just some killer game, and it'll come. He also did have 10 rebounds, which can't go without mentioning. I mean, that led the Pacers, so that was great to see. But overall, there was a few other things. I thought Turner had some good moments. 22 points, 6 boards. All right. I think that Andrew Nembhard had some moments of better play. I think that we saw the Pacers go with Nembhard in the starting 5 compared to T.J. McConnell. I think that was a move that I liked. I just prefer McConnell off the bench. I really do think that he's just been better in that role. But one thing that we didn't mention is Jalen Smith tweaks his back before the game, does not play. That had some people shook to their core on Twitter. I mean, people were like, I don't know, where is he?
Were you one of them?
Trade? I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I saw you had me alarmed when you're like, he's not on the ESPN roster. I was like, wait, whoa. I was like, wait a minute. Is there some sort of trade that's maybe been reported out by like someone other than Woj or Shams? I didn't know. But obviously, once it then came out about the back, it was just like, why is that the case that Isaiah Jackson finally comes back and Jalen Smith goes out? And it just feels like a little bit of whenever you get one Pacer back, another one goes. And that's just kind of been the story this year.
Yeah, we can never get a full deck of cards. We just keep getting a handful, right? So it is a bit frustrating. But yeah, I might have actually been wrong on that when I looked. Only going to say this because I remember pulling up my phone later in the night to check out the stats. And for some reason, I was on the old Nuggets game. And so maybe when I looked at the bench, Jalen was in the starting lineup, and that's why I didn't see him in there. It could have just been me with a glitch. I don't know. But I ended up deleting that tweet just because the Pacers put out their, their report that he was questionable to return, and he didn't even enter the game. So, yeah, it was a bit of a bummer because I was kind of curious to see how the Pacers would utilize Isaiah Jackson once he was available to come back. Would he have gotten those backup 5 minutes, or was it going to be Jalen Smith? I do think Jalen Smith provides a different look against DeAndre Jordan. I don't necessarily think, having Isaiah out there running around is the worst thing, because it does put DeAndre at a different it puts him at a disadvantage just because he's not quick like that anymore. anytime DeAndre Jordan's out there on the court, I'm like, oh, thank God the Pacers get a break from Jokic. And that is probably the biggest drop off from starting center to
Gotta
backup
be.
center in the entire league. There's no doubt about that. And that's not even just saying how good of a guy Jokic is. It just says how bad DeAndre is. DeAndre is totally lost it, man. I still don't understand how he is a backup center in the league. He should be a third string guy, not getting any minutes. I would rather trust Aaron Gordon at the backup five than Jordan at this point. From what I've seen so far, ugh, that is gross. It's a blessing for other teams and just the Nuggets bench in general. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Reggie Jackson. There were so many moments where he just hit some stupid shots, and I'm like, what are we allowing this guy to do this for? And I was so mad at Mathurin on that one possession because Mathurin got up in his grill and Jackson kind of like lowered his shoulder into Mathurin a little bit to create separation, and Mathurin tries to flop and sell the call and just allows all the space for Jackson, and then Jackson just hits the bucket. I'm like, Mathurin, just play defense. There's like 4 seconds left in the shot clock. So I will
I
just
know.
say this. I want to go a little bit on a rant about Ben Mathurin because Ben Mathurin was atrocious the last 2 games before this game.
Yes.
1 of 16, got benched. Rick Carlisle actually in his post-game presser said something about we don't want selfish basketball around here. And if you're not going to make the right plays, we're not going to put up with that. He didn't say Ben Mathurin's name specifically, but you could tell who he was
Of
calling out
course.
indirectly. And there was a lot of sass behind Carlisle's tone there. And I think Carlisle is just fed up with it. And so I saw a different version of Mathurin in the first half. We saw him much more committed. He was looking for Pascal. He was looking for Obi Toppin, had a great pass to him on a pick and roll, had a shot going. Everything seemed to be flowing well. And then it's like he got comfortable again. In the second half, he reverted back to old Ben Mathurin, made a lot of bad plays. He was really unplayable in the second half. And I don't know. I'm really getting tired of the inconsistency from Ben Mathurin.
I'll tell you this, in the first half, to be specific. So overall for the game, 11 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. At halftime, he had 9 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. It's just he stopped looking for other players. I mean, the 3 assists came early. It was, wow, okay, hey, look, he might finish the game 5 assists, whatever it may be. The shots falling. He was 3 of 5, finished the game 3 of 8. So I just felt like in that second half, you really did not get anything out of Benedict Mathurin. And that was tough to see because the Pacers needed more. It felt like off the bench, you had TJ McConnell, who really, it felt like got a lot of his points on a specific stretch, but still, McConnell absolutely produced. And then I just felt like there was the rest of the bench. I mean, Obi, really didn't bring much to the table. He had 17 minutes, 4 points, 2 boards. Isaiah Jackson just played 9 minutes, 3 points, 2 boards. Ben Sheppard had that run, which was great. But I just felt like you needed more out of the bench. You didn't have it tonight. But Mathurin's someone that, you look to Mathurin for more than 11 points. And I just felt like tonight was, while he wasn't as bad as the previous 2 games, that second half, there was nothing there.
No, he was MIA. And it's frustrating because I believe in Ben Mathurin. I really do. And the ceiling is there for him. But, man, he just cannot figure it out. I mean, it is so difficult to just see a guy, all its potential.
Massive.
And I don't want to hear anything about Rick Carlisle holding him back because the way that Mathurin responded after the 2 games that he played in that first half was exactly the response you want when a guy gets chewed out indirectly by his coach in the media. And maybe Mathurin heard it, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But all I know is that he deserved it. He deserved to get his butt chewed out. He was just awful. And they need him to be good. They need him to be like a 6th man for this team because that's what he provides is just that high level scoring, getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line, potentially being good on defense. We've seen the flashes from him. It's just not been all put together consistently. And at this point now, I'm just not really relying on him for anything consistent. Anything we get from Mathurin to me at this point is just an extra. So I don't really know what else he's going to do because I don't think he gets back into the starting lineup whatsoever. I think he's going to ride out the rest of the season on the bench. He probably doesn't like that, but I don't like his fit next to Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Haliburton and Miles Turner. I just don't think it's the right pairing. So that's a little bit concerning as well moving forward. I mean, I'm not trying to be all like knee-jerk reaction after 1 game, but I think this really the last 3 games, it's just been okay. Now that we've got Siakam, it's really been a bit of an adjustment period for Ben Mathurin. How will he figure things out? Because it feels like everybody else is at least trying to play the right way, where Mathurin's almost like feeling pressure now that there's another guy there that maybe is a little bit higher than him in the pecking order in terms of who's getting the basketball.
That's a great point. I mean, now you are talking about, look, Bruce Brown didn't need a lot of shots. He could have games where he might, 10 points, averaged about 11 points with the Pacers. Siakam needs, 14 plus shots. And I do think that could be a little bit tough for Mathurin, to swallow. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, the Pacers still very much believe in him. They did not make him available. It would absolutely stun me. I would be shocked to my core if he was somehow moved at this deadline. I do not see that happening. So
No way.
there's no chance. So it's like we're going to give this plenty more time. So I'm excited because I do think the best basketball is far ahead of him. It is. It's just we need more consistency out of him. He can't be, he's too good to do what he's doing right now. So we want to see more of a complete performance. But, for this Pacers team, one of the things that kind of surprised me was, Alex, they had 6 3-point attempts at halftime.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting because a couple games ago, they had 27 3-point attempts at halftime.
Against Portland, right?
Yeah, just 6 at halftime. Felt like it was not Pacers basketball. And in the end, they shot 5 of 21 from 3. The starting lineup was atrocious from 3. I mean, they were 2 of 17 from 3.
Yeah.
So just brutal. This is exactly where you miss Tyrese Haliburton to be able to get guys better looks. In specific, Aaron Nesmith, tough shooting night. 1 of 7 from 3-point land for a guy that was shooting about, what was it, 47% from 3, recently, or at one point, I think it is, 47% from 3, and he goes 1 of 7. That's something you don't expect. And in this game, and it's not that it comes down to one play or anything, an extra 3-pointer, that makes a big difference in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and Nesmith had some really good looks. He just couldn't get the ball to fall. So that's a little bit frustrating. Obviously, Miles Turner went 0 of 5 in this game after he had a big night, and Portland, made a bunch of threes there. And it felt like, man, if him and Pascal can play like this, watch out. There's a lot of potential here with that duo. But you're right. I mean, nobody made more than 1 3-pointer in this game. TJ McConnell even pushed one in.
He hit one, his second made 3 of the year. I rubbed my eyes like it was like Christmas Day. I couldn't believe what I saw. I was like, McConnell, his second made 3. I was like, babe, take a good look at that. That might not happen again this year. I hope it does, but it's not a guarantee that it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a low light for sure. But he made the 3-pointer, and I was like, okay, let's go, TJ. Let's go. Like, I was like, gotta put him back out there. I mean, he was a +10 in this game, Facci. That just tells you like how good he was. Obi Toppin was a +4. Ben Sheppard was a +7. Surprisingly, Mather was a +2, but I think part of that was because he was out there when McConnell had that huge run.
Yes, exactly.
So that does kind of balance that out. But I feel like overall this was a pretty great effort from the Pacers. I mean, undermanned, no Jalen Smith, no Tyrese Haliburton. Still trying to figure out how to integrate Pascal Siakam. You're playing the defending champions. This is a team that you just lost to last week in a close game on the road. You almost pulled one out of your butt by beating them when you really were down by a lot. And you just scratched and clawed and took a 13-point lead down to 6 and down to 4. And you eventually take the lead on a Ben Sheppard 3, and you just could not get over the hump. And 3-point shooting was a big reason why. And it's like this team, they didn't even shoot that many threes. 21 threes does not feel like that many for this
Nothing
team.
for the Pacers, yeah.
But for the fact that they only made 5, I'm glad they didn't stick with it. I'm glad that they got away from just chucking threes. But I think, Buddy Hield really never got going. And when he's out there playing, he's gotten better defensively. Like, I actually thought he had some good moments in this game, but there was also some times where he got switched out into space, and it was just like a traffic cone for the Pacers defense. I want to see more consistency from this group, and we have yet to see it. But if you just go back and look at the Nuggets, man, the Nuggets did not play well in terms of their other players. Jokic and Murray had 62 of the 114 points. The next closest scorer was Reggie Jackson off the bench with 13. So they kept Gordon in check. Porter Jr. was kept in check. Oh, excuse me. Caldwell Pope had 14. So he had one more point than Reggie Jackson. But still, we got lit up from three by Michael Porter Jr. in Denver the last time they played last
Yes,
week.
we did.
And he only had 5 points. He was 2-9 from the field. Aaron Gordon, just 3 of 5 for 9 points. Peyton Watson had some good moments. He only had 7 points, though. Jordan had 2 points in 11 minutes. And then Christian Brown had 2 points in 15 minutes. So this, to me, is a Nuggets team that needs some depth if they're going to be a real championship contender, because they cannot just ride the coattails of Jokic and Murray, in my opinion, all the way to the NBA Finals. They need these other guys to step up and be more consistent. But Pacers had an opportunity to pull one out here, and they really let this one slip away.
They did, and here's the tough thing. It's a woulda, coulda, shoulda, but they now play Denver really well without Tyrese Haliburton in 2 games. If the Pacers had Haliburton and won these 2 games, could you imagine the confidence boost for this team to say, we beat the defending champs twice this year, 2 out of 2 times. We beat Boston twice. We've beaten Philly. We beat Milwaukee 4 times. It's like the Pacers
got their coach fired.
Yeah, you can make that argument. I mean, Adrian Griffin was never really the same. That's tough. So it was an interesting day in the NBA between Adrian Griffin getting fired, Terry Rozier getting traded to the Heat. There was some stuff going on. So I think that this is the NBA. It never sleeps. There's going to be even more stuff going on in the next few weeks. We've heard that Denver was a team that they're interested in bringing Bruce Brown back, but they don't have the assets to be able to make it happen. You talked about how they do need something else on this team, but I don't know what they're going to be working with asset-wise, so that's going to be interesting. But I do think the Pacers played good enough to be able to live with this loss and not feel that, we're in trouble here. I know that the L's are starting to pile up, but I still feel good enough to be like, okay, when the Pacers are healthy, we got a good roster right now. Can we add to it? Can we get better? Yes, we can. But, my last point, just, as you mentioned when you touched on Buddy Hield, it's been tough because this is a game the Pacers needed Buddy in. I felt that he was awesome against Phoenix. 18 points. It's great to see. But look at this past month of January. There's only been 3 games that he scored less than 10 points. In those games, he had 0 points, 0 points, and 3 points. It's like you gotta fall somewhere in the middle. For a guy who's only averaging 13 on the year, it's like I would like it if his bad could be 8. Could it be something like that? Something where it's like, okay, you could live with that because hey, if Buddy Hield gives you 8 points in this game, the whole outcome might be different. You're talking about maybe 1 made 3, whatever it may be. And to his credit, he did only play 22 minutes, which is not a lot of minutes, and he didn't put up a lot of shots. We've seen Buddy have games where it's like he's missing, but he ain't gonna stop shooting, and this was not the case. Just goes 1 of 3 in this game, so it was a very unlike Buddy type of performance.
All right, can I put you on the hot seat and ask you 3 questions?
I'm sweating already.
Okay, question number 1. Would the Pacers have been better off including Buddy Hield in the package for Pascal Siakam and keeping Bruce Brown?
I'd say yes. I mean, look, here's the thing. Buddy Hield, everybody's spacing. It is very important. Much better 3-point shooter. I get that. But you could still revisit, Bruce Brown in the offseason as a major trade chip. So you still had that opportunity. But, obviously right now, hey, look, if Bruce Brown didn't factor in the Pacers' plans moving forward, maybe Buddy does. But I think that is also could have been somewhere where you could have moved Buddy and then revisited a Bruce Brown trade in the offseason, or maybe even additionally at the deadline. As you're hearing, he's got so many suitors right now. Everybody's popping up as a Bruce Brown fan now.
Yeah, it's one that I kind of feel like I agree with too. I think that I would rather have Bruce on this team. And I was talking about that a lot. Like we both thought having Bruce with Tyrese and Aaron and Miles and Pascal, it just was like a much better defensive unit. You still have secondary playmaking with Bruce Brown, and he wasn't great. But I think part of the reason why maybe they did move off of him really was because it helped with the salary in terms of only having to get rid of Wara plus Kara Lewis to make the deal happen. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. But if there is any truth to the fact that he was unhappy in Indiana, you have to move off of him. That to
Pacers have
me
always
is
done right by
yeah,
players that have not been happy or wanted to change. They have done right.
yeah.
Hopefully, Bruce Brown spreads that message around because that would help players to be like, hey, look, if it doesn't work out there, they'll hear you out and do their best to accommodate you.
Yeah. Okay, so two more questions. The
What do
next
you
one.
got?
We saw Ben Sheppard get the minutes at the end of the game over Buddy Hield. We saw Ben Sheppard go all out defensively and have the defensive play of the game. Is there a case where you think that this team is ready for Ben Sheppard to be the backup two, or at least consistently in the rotation as a backup guard, whether it's with Mathurin or not, over keeping Buddy Hield, and it makes Buddy Hield more expendable?
I don't think that Ben Sheppard's ready just yet to step into that role as the backup two, but I think that the Pacers are doing a great job of giving him more exposure, getting him out there. And what I could say is that effort and those whatever you want to call it, 2-3 possessions of back and forth, I have never seen that out of Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is not one to be jumping into the stands almost or diving on the floor like that. It was fantastic to see. But you, and many other fans of this team, when they drafted Ben Sheppard, it felt specifically like Buddy Hield's replacement. Eventually, one day, is that at the trade deadline? I don't know. Is that going into next year? Most likely. I'm one of those people that just says I just don't think it makes sense to give Buddy Hield the type of contract that he's looking for at this point in his career. Good player, but a lot of people can argue the best basketball I believe he's already played.
Yeah, I will say this, and it's not a hot take for me. I just think that the writing is kind of on the wall for Buddy
It
Hield with his
is.
time here with the Pacers, and I think that Ben Sheppard has proven enough that if he's a 10th man on this roster, you can feel okay with moving off of Buddy Hield, even though you do like the shooting, like you mentioned earlier. And I've talked about it just on the last episode that we did. The spacing for Buddy Hield is huge, and nobody else really provides that. But man, the way Ben Sheppard locked in defensively, if he can do that on a consistent basis and kind of be that type of player moving forward and just be even more scrappy defensively, man, that's really hard to keep off the floor, Facci. I just don't know how you
It
do it.
is.
So that's something to keep an eye on. But the last question I have, and I think I got asked this question as well, but my opinion really hasn't changed much. But no Jarris Walker tonight. After we just heard Rick Carlisle praise him for the game that he had and for bouncing back after getting no playing time against Portland. And then he even said that Jarris Walker could play some three and that he actually liked going bigger, yet they don't go bigger. They stay with their consistent lineup of 9 that they had, and Jarris Walker gets another DNP coach's decision. Were you at all surprised, and do you think Jarris should be in the rotation consistently?
I think earlier in the game, I was wondering if we'll see Jarris because he came in earlier against Phoenix, like way earlier than usual, and I thought that was the interesting part. Then this game just became so close that I felt like when the Pacers were trailing or trying to really get back in the game, then I honestly didn't even think about it just because I felt like that might not have been the opportunity for him when the Pacers were going back and forth with Denver. They probably wanted someone a little bit more that they could count on, but in this situation, Isaiah Jackson plays just 9 minutes. Could he have maybe snagged some of those minutes? Could he have stole some minutes from Ben Mathurin? It's very possible. I don't think that he would have had a big role, but I think he definitely could have made an appearance, maybe specifically in that third quarter when they just needed a spark and everything was really going downhill. I think maybe that could have been an opportunity. I mean, what were your thoughts?
I would say it was a little bit of a letdown, not getting to see Jarris play, but I also am not expecting anything when it comes to Jarris's minutes. I'm expecting him not to play. And so when he does play, it's more of a surprise. And it's like, all right, I'm not getting myself overhyped that he's going to play all these minutes, even after having a great game of 10 points, 9 rebounds, and just doing what he did in Phoenix. Like, it was a really special performance from him in that moment. But I don't know. I think that we're to the point where this roster is still pretty loaded with everybody healthy. It's going to be hard for him to get consistent minutes. I don't think they fully trust him yet, especially going up against a team like Denver. You're trying to win games, and you're trying not to let this race between the 4 and the 8 seed get too far away from you. I think they still have plenty of time to recover. It's only a couple of games. It's going to feel big in the moment, but if they can get some of these games back in February, you'll probably be like, okay, yeah, those games did stink in January to end the season, but we got ourselves back on track. So I do think that Jarace Walker has a ton of potential with this team moving forward, but I just don't think that they're ready to fully trust him yet. And at that position specifically, they are pretty deep there. So Pascal's going to be playing 30-some minutes a night, most nights at that position. If he doesn't play the 3 and they're only playing him at the 4, he's really not going to see playing time. If they want to try to pigeonhole him into a 3 spot, I think that's fine, but I don't think that's his natural position. So now you're trying to force minutes to him in a spot that's not necessarily the spot he's going to play in moving forward. Even though you want to get him playing time, you got to find that right balance. So I think Jarace is fine. This isn't one that I'm as worried about. I wish that we could get a little bit more consistency just for his sake, so he can kind of feel a little bit more confident and comfortable in what he's trying to do.
Because you can make an argument, what could he have done differently against Phoenix to earn playing time in this game? There's a chance you could just say nothing. You know, I think that there's a lot of games that Pacer fans are banging on the keyboard on their phone to be like, Jarace needs minutes. I don't think this was that game. I don't think
I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, look, yes,
everybody's every game, unfortunately.
You're going to see it every single game, but I don't think that this is a scenario where things were going so bad that why didn't he get in? Or, you know what, he could have made a difference. Could anyone have made a difference? Yeah, one play could in a close game could swing some momentum or anything, but I don't think that there was a big opportunity to get Jarace in this game other than the third quarter when things were going really bad. I think come the fourth quarter, it was just too tight. It was just going back and forth, and the Pacers were really, on the comeback trail, and then they took the lead, and they're fighting for the lead. So if it wasn't the third quarter, I don't think there would have been much of an opportunity. But, hey, you have to have an opportunity in order to make the most of it. And I look forward to him having that next opportunity whenever that may be. Maybe it is against Philly. Maybe it's against Phoenix, knowing that he played well against them. Maybe there's some matchups they'd like to exploit. We'll see. But for now, hey, while we don't want to always, like I said earlier in the episode, pat ourselves on the back, guys, I think you've got to be encouraged by this type of performance, knowing that if you have Tyrese Haliburton in the lineup next time, it truly does feel that you can compete and beat anybody on any given night with a healthy roster. This team's just not healthy right now.
Absolutely. And until they get Haliburton back, it's just going to be an uphill battle for this team. Hopefully they can get one win against Philly and Phoenix. They need one badly. We'll see what happens. Hopefully Joel Embiid, all of his 70 points were left in that San Antonio game, and he doesn't bring any into the field house. So that's all we can hope for, Facci. But let's go ahead and wrap this one up. It was a good game. I was glad the Pacers competed down to the wire. We got a lot of fun things to talk about. But Pacer fans, if you're worried about Pascal, I'll say just be patient. Spicy P is coming. He's just waiting for Spicy T to join him. So, Facci, tell everybody where they can find us out on social media.
Absolutely. So you can find us on Twitter at PacersPod STP. You can find Alex on Twitter at AlexGold. I can be found on Twitter at _FACCI. You can find us on Instagram at PacersPodSTP. You can find us on Facebook at Set the Pace. You can find us on TikTok at Set the Pace. And Alex, tell them where they can check us out on YouTube.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to youtube.com/settingthepace, a Pacers podcast where you can find all of our video content, like this one right here. If you like what you're listening to, subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what you think the Pacers could have done differently to pull out a victory against the Denver Nuggets. But we want to thank you guys so much for your support of this podcast. Please give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcast. And Facci, if you're excited that the Pacers are back home for 3 more games on this 4-game homestand, then please hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers!